Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on education. In this video we're going to look at Conservative education policies between 2015 and 2024. Since winning the general election in 2015, Conservative governments in the UK have introduced significant changes to the education system. Most legislation focused on further promoting academisation, increasing vocational education, raising standards and addressing social mobility. While some changes aim to tackle inequality, others have been criticised for perpetuating disparities within the education system. In this video, we're going to look at some of the key initiatives that were put forward by the Conservative government and provide some critical evaluations of these policies. Whilst many of the policies that we will discuss were actually formed by the coalition government in 2010 to 2015, the Conservative government of 2015 continued with the expansion of academies and multi-academy trusts. Following the 2010 Academies Act, the drive to convert schools to academies continued, and the government encouraged schools to join multi-academy trusts to share resources and expertise. This increasingly marginalised local authority-maintained schools, providing them with fewer resources and autonomy. Although introduced earlier, the pupil premium also received renewed emphasis under Conservative policies. Schools were given extra funding for students from disadvantaged backgrounds to close the attainment gap, and they were required to report how this funding was spent and its impact on students' progress. This was introduced through new measures such as Progress Aid and Attainment Aid. Additionally, the EBAC became a performance measure, requiring students to take a core set of academic subjects, including English, maths, science, history or geography, and a modern language. The aim was to ensure that students, particularly in disadvantaged areas, had access to a broad and rigorous education. Additionally, exams were reformed to make them more challenging with a shift from coursework to end-of-course or linear exams. These were introduced in 2017 for A-levels and 2019 for GCSEs. In GCSEs, a numerical grading system of 9 to 1 replaced letter grades to better differentiate students' performance levels. Between 2015 and 2024, the government also sought to improve vocational education through initiatives like the Skills for Jobs paper in 2021 and T-levels, a new technical qualification that was designed to give parity of esteem with A-levels for vocational students. Apprenticeship schemes were also expanded, aiming to provide students with practical skills and better career pathways. The Free Schools initiative also continued, allowing parents, charities and other groups to set up schools in areas of need, and these schools had the same freedom as academies. And finally, schools were required to identify and prevent radicalisation under the government's counter-terrorism strategy, what is called the Prevent Duty. This including promoting British values such as democracy, the rule of law and individual liberty. There were many impacts of these policies over the period. By 2023, over 80% of secondary schools were academies or part of multi-academy trusts. While some trusts improved struggling schools, others faced criticism for financial mismanagement and lack of accountability. It is argued that academies have widened the gap between well-performing and struggling schools, particularly in disadvantaged areas. The focus on academic rigour through the EBAC and reformed exams raised academic standards in some areas, but critics have argued that these policies narrowed the curriculum. Subjects like the arts, design and technology were deprioritised, limiting opportunities for students with creative talents. There were also mixed results for the pupil premium. While some schools used pupil premium funding effectively, others struggled to show measurable improvements in outcomes for disadvantaged students, and critics argued that this policy alone could not address deep-rooted inequalities. In terms of vocational education, T-levels and apprenticeships provided valuable alternatives to traditional academic routes, but uptake was slower than anticipated, partly due to limited awareness and employer engagement. There were also criticisms of the defunding of other traditional vocational qualifications such as BTECs. While some policies such as the pupil premium aim to reduce inequalities, many reforms disproportionately benefited middle-class students. For example, the EBAC was more likely to be implemented in schools with higher levels of academic achievement, often attended by middle-class children. And the prevent duty faced criticism for stigmatising certain ethnic and religious groups, particularly Muslim students. And this raised concerns about the role of schools in policing social behaviour rather than fostering inclusivity. There's been much sociological research into the impacts of conservative policies over the period, including that by Ball and Udell. They examined ongoing marketisation of education, arguing that academies and free schools created a fragmented system. They highlighted the lack of accountability in multi-academy trusts and the risk of prioritising financial efficiency over educational outcomes. The sociologist David Gilbourne critiqued the prevent duty, suggesting it reinforces racial and cultural stereotypes. He argued that such policies disproportionately targeted minority ethnic students and highlighted their sense of marginalisation within schools. Francis et al. Conducted research on the EBAC and found that it improved access to academic subjects, but it also narrowed the curriculum for many students, particularly in lower performing schools. Francis et al. Argued that this shift undervalued non-academic subjects and widened the attainment gap. Gorard studied the pupil premium and found inconsistent results. Schools in wealthier areas were often better equipped to use the funding effectively, while schools in disadvantaged areas faced structural barriers that limited its impact. And Thompson and Russell researched T-levels, highlighting the potential benefits of vocational education, but noted that implementation challenges, including inadequate employer partnerships, limited the effectiveness of these reforms. Conservative education policies post-2015 are focused on raising standards, expanding academies and increasing parental choice. While these changes have improved outcomes in some areas, they have also deepened inequalities and created a fragmented system with uneven accountability. Sociological research has underscored the need to address structural inequalities and ensure that reforms benefit all students regardless of background. As such, these policies remain a vital area of study for understanding how education shapes social opportunities and divisions in contemporary Britain. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on education, looking at conservative education policy from 2015 to 2024. Thanks for watching.